It was supposed to be a surgical strike, a display of unrivaled, absolute air supremacy that the world had come to expect from the American war machine. But in less than 30 minutes, the United States military experienced its most devastating and public technological failure in modern history. 40 advanced F-35 stealth fighter jets, the absolute crown jewels of Western military engineering, each bearing a price tag of over $100 million, were wiped from the sky. They did not fall to peer-level stealth fighters. They were not outmaneuvered in dogfights. Their killer was Iran's FAT-360 ballistic missile system. These multi-million-dollar stealth platforms, designed to be invisible and invincible, had absolutely no defense against the sheer, overwhelming volume and mathematical precision of the Iranian missile strikes. It was a brutal lesson in asymmetric warfare. While the Pentagon scrambles to project an image of control by flying slow, aging A-10 Warthogs and Apache helicopters over the fringes of Iranian airspace, the reality on the ground is far grimmer than the press briefings suggest. The airspace is heavily contested, and the losses are mounting. An F-15 Strike Eagle was recently shot out of the sky in a supposedly secure sector, and when 2 Black Hawk helicopters were sent in for a desperate rescue extraction, they immediately took heavy, sustained anti-aircraft fire and barely made it out of the kill zone. A truly shattered defence network does not casually drop top-tier 5th-generation fighter jets and chase away elite military rescue teams. Behind closed doors in Washington, the US military is operating without a coherent war plan. They are effectively improvising day by day, reacting to crises rather than dictating the terms of engagement. Their multi-trillion-dollar technology is being exposed as a catastrophic liability against cheap, precise, and mass-produced missile volume. The economic mismatch is staggering. On one side of the ledger, you have the multi-trillion-dollar F-35 program, plagued by delays and cost overruns. On the other, the comparatively tiny cost of FAT-360 missiles. As these cheap missiles upend the global military balance sheet, they expose a fatal, undeniable flaw. Hyper-expensive, complex technology is a massive liability against precise, devastating volume. With the illusion of air supremacy completely shattered, the logical next step in any conventional textbook war is a full-scale ground invasion. But the president and his top generals are terrified of what that actually means. Iran is not Iraq. It is a massive, heavily fortified nation 3 times the size of Iraq, boasting a highly mobilized population of over 90 million people. Its treacherous, mountainous topography perfectly mirrors the ultimate graveyard of empires, Afghanistan. Military analysts, wargamers, and the White House inner circle know the chilling truth. A full-scale ground invasion would not be a swift, triumphant liberation. It would be an absolute meat grinder of urban combat and asymmetric guerrilla warfare. The administration is acutely aware that committing boots to the ground would guarantee American troops returning home in flag-draped coffins in very large, politically unsurvivable numbers. Faced with this impossible no-win dilemma, the American military strategy has devolved into panicked, desperate thrashing. Unable to secure the skies and unwilling to take the ground, forces are now resorting to striking civilian infrastructure. We are seeing targeted bombings of pharmaceutical factories, critical desalination plants, and domestic nuclear energy facilities. International analysts refer to this brutal tactical shift as the Israelization of the war. It marks a deliberate, highly controversial departure from established international rules of engagement. The new goal is not to defeat a military, but to cripple a nation by systematically destroying the basic survival infrastructure of its civilian population. Dropping bombs on water supplies and medical sectors is not the behaviour of a confident superpower clinically executing a victory. It is the panicked, directionless thrashing of a military apparatus that lacks a viable exit strategy. Because the president lacks the patience, the diplomatic leverage, or the political capital for actual negotiations, a new strategy has emerged from the West Wing. Construct a completely fake narrative of victory to appease the political base ahead of the looming midterm elections. The administration is willing to simply declare victory on paper and walk away, leaving a smouldering, destabilised region in its wake. But while Washington plays domestic politics, a global economic time bomb is ticking loudly in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran effectively controls this critical, narrow oil choke point, through which approximately 20% of the entire world's oil supply passes every single day. The resulting disruption from the conflict has triggered a massive, cascading energy crisis across Asia and Europe, sending oil prices spiralling out of control and threatening to completely derail the fragile global economic recovery. The White House is callously framing this as a foreign problem. They are quick to point out that the United States doesn't rely heavily on Persian Gulf oil anymore, and that domestic gas prices remain relatively stable at around $4 a gallon. But in a hyper-connected, deeply intertwined global economy, the shockwaves of an Asian energy collapse will inevitably crash onto American shores. Supply chains will freeze, manufacturing will halt, and inflation will skyrocket. Spending billions of taxpayer dollars and losing top-tier stealth aircraft just to restore the exact geographical status quo that existed 45 days ago represents a massive, undeniable strategic retreat. This bizarre, contradictory pivot has little to do with grand military strategy and everything to do with domestic political survival. The White House desperately needs a narrative that keeps its voting base satisfied, even as the global economy burns. The fallout from this disastrous campaign extends far beyond the borders of the Middle East. The entire Western alliance, the bedrock of post-war global security, is violently cracking under the immense pressure of this improvised, reckless war. With the president making erratic threats to pull the United States out of NATO entirely, European allies are left feeling completely exposed and deeply alienated. They are watching America's reckless military tactics and its outright refusal to secure vital global energy routes, and they are beginning to realise they can no longer rely on Washington for their security or economic stability. The transatlantic partnership is fracturing in real time. Nature abhors a vacuum, and in geopolitics, vacuums are filled quickly. China has swiftly and decisively stepped in to fill the void left by American erraticism. While the United States drops bombs on civilian water supplies, hospitals, and universities, Beijing has launched a massive, highly publicized surprise peace initiative. Through back-channel diplomacy and massive economic incentives, China is actively positioning itself as the rational, stabilizing, and mature superpower on the world stage. They are brokering deals that Washington cannot even get a seat at the table for. Meanwhile, the American administration is desperately trying to avoid the only other military option left on the table: a full-scale ground invasion. In a hostile country with a heavily armed population of over 90 million, navigating brutal mountainous terrain, That operation would guarantee American troops coming home in coffins in numbers not seen since Vietnam. It is a political death sentence, and the Pentagon knows it. Instead, the grand strategy is to simply declare a hollow, meaningless victory, pull back the remaining battered naval and air forces, and leave the entire region in a smouldering, chaotic state of no war, no peace, for regional allies to clean up. It is a strategy of abandonment disguised as triumph. A slick, multi-million-dollar PR campaign, backed by compliant media outlets, might be enough to save a political career in Washington for one more election cycle. But no amount of political spin, no matter how well funded, can unburn a multi-trillion-dollar military disaster in the desert. The wreckage of 40 F-35s cannot be spun into a success story. As the dust finally begins to settle over the Persian Gulf, the world is witnessing a fundamental, seismic shift in the global order. The long era of unquestioned, absolute American military and diplomatic dominance is definitively over. It is being rapidly replaced by a fractured, deeply divided West and a rising, highly coordinated East, led by a patient and strategic Beijing. The rules of the global game have been rewritten in the span of 30 minutes of missile fire. This has been Ells Daily Spark. Thank you for watching. If you want to understand the real forces shaping our world, subscribe for more deep dive geopolitical analysis that the mainstream media won't show you.